Bonjour and welcome to my channel. You see me today. It's rare, but you know, it happens. Today I wanted to share a project on which I work for a couple of weeks now. It's a cat feeder. In fact, let me show you how I came up with this idea of making a cat feeder. Obviously I have a cat, but as a robot. Let's take a look. So first, as you can see, I searched on Amazon and found this. In fact, there are many cat feeders. This is one of them. But you know, I'm a maker and I want to do something by my own. So I researched to try to find any other person who have already made it. And there are a ton of projects. As you can see here, there is an auger. Most of them work with an auger. So I thought it was a good idea. And I found many very nice projects. I can leave these projects in the description of my video. But as you can see, they share all one thing in common. It's always a box. And you know, I love Star Wars, and as you know, I already started an R2-D2 project. It's on pause for more than 1 year, but still it's a project. It's an active project. So I had the idea to create a cat feeder based on a Star Wars robot. Why not? And I decided to base it on another robot because I already started building an R2-D2. It's going to be based on Chopper. Oh, by the way, the t-shirt that I wear actually is a promotion t-shirt from this website, RFA. So I encourage you to take a look at their website. I already have many t-shirts from their company, and they're very comfortable, very good quality. Go and take a look to their website. I'm gonna leave the link in the description. This robot has its own personality, and you know, I love the look, so I decided to make one of them by my own. Just to tell you, I spend, let's say, not far from half of the time on Blender and half of the time on Fusion 360. That being said, it's a huge project, so I have to split it in two parts. This first part is talking about the body, the paint job, and you know, the exterior, the look. And the next video will be more about the auger and the mechanism, the electronics, and so forth. So for today, I'm gonna spend more time in Blender because I use Blender to prepare the model for the 3D print. And I use Fusion 360 to prepare and design and, you know, print the mechanic portion and the auger and so forth. So let's dive in. Let's go in Blender and take a look at what I did. Let's do it. Oh, just before we dive into Blender, let's take a look at the mechanical robot, the functioning version. We have it here, but it's for the next video. So let's jump into Blender now. Okay, here we are in Blender. The first thing I changed on the model is I made a hole here for the mechanical portion. If I enable the extruder, this part is the one that I use to make the boolean to open a hole in the bottom of the robot. But for now, let's continue with the robot itself. The other thing is I split the body in two parts. The first is the body itself, where I added walls inside the model so I can support the head. When I'm gonna put it back here, it's gonna be held on that part here. And I added another part which is held on the other shoulder here, which is the cone in which the food will be maintained before being distributed by the auger. I added a hole back here so the electric wire can go out into the outlet. Notice that a couple of portions of the model, like this portion here, is a standalone part. I tried to print without support, so this did not came correctly, so I had to reprint it and reinstall the printed version separately. Here we have 3 electric wires, 2 of them were screwed, and these parts here, these rounded portions here, were not supported, so they were not printed perfectly, but for me it's okay. Another thing is I added these parts here. These parts are inside the robot, adding some physical support right here, because I wanted to print it one shot, and I do not trust these, let's say, cylinders with the body, you know, floating over the air. I did not want to take a chance, so I added these parts here, these two parts. For the rest, it's almost untouched, as I said. For the head, same thing. I added the inside wall, as you can see here. It was not possible to print it without adding these walls inside the head and inside the body. So these changes were only made for printing purposes. And I printed it with support only on the build plate, so the bottom of the robot was all supported. Okay, now it's time to go on the print bed and check this print going on. It's gonna take 13 days to print only the body. So it was a long time lapse. Let's check it out. Notice that I used this detector to monitor the rotation of the spool that I installed right now. It's very useful to stop the printer if the spool runs out of filament. I'm gonna leave a link in the description. This time lapse represents 13 days of print. It was a long one. The bottom of the robot is not perfect because of the support, but it's okay for my cat feeder. Printing the head took about 3 days. And as you notice, I printed the antenna as 2 halves in that direction because I wanted to be stronger and avoid breaking or snapping off because of the layers. It's a technique that is very useful. Okay, after all these days of printing, a test confirms that everything fits perfectly. Okay, now let's go in the garage to start sanding and painting the robot. After the main preparation, I applied the first coat of primer filler. I used this primer. It is very useful to fill all the small gaps. Next, I used this reference image to find the color of the head and start painting it. While working in my garage with the open door, I even received the visit of a neighbor who asked me to help, and it was great. Once again, I used the reference image to decide that I will print this section all black and use rub and buff to enhance the metal look afterward. And once again, the reference image guided me for the color of the 3, let's call them eyes, in front of the robot. Based on the model, I see that the plate surrounding the arm is whitish, so I decided to apply a thin coat of metal color. Just like for the arm, I'm gonna paint the bottom part very dark and enhance the color with rub and buff. Next up, I tape and paint the yellow band surrounding the head of the robot. While my friend is working on the head, you see me working on the auger. This is gonna be part of the second video, but anyway, it's there, so I leave it there. I have a couple of difficulty with the versions of my auger. You're gonna see all the details in the next video, so stay tuned. The arms have two different colors, so I decided to apply a light, darker gray than the rest of the body. From now on, I start touching smaller details, so I decided to use Fusion 360 to draw a flat 2D image that I transferred into Inkscape so I can use my laser to cut a masking tape that will be used to cover the area. You can see the result here. The masking tape have been cut with the laser, so I'm ready to paint the yellow area here. Now, same thing for the grid in front of the robot. I use my laser. This time you see the laser in action. Applying the masking tape is a breeze. It's so easy, so it helps a lot for the smaller details. Once again, I use my laser to mask the grid behind the robot. And the project continues like that until the end. Unfortunately, I lost part of my video when I did the weathering, but this is the result, all the tools, all the paints, and check the final result. The robot is insane. I love it. So I don't know if you love it, but if it's the case, please take a minute to subscribe to my channel, give me a thumbs up, and follow me for the next part because you're gonna see the robot in action. For now, it was only about the paint job. In the next video, I'm gonna show you that I encounter a couple of difficulties with the auger inside. I will resolve all of that and show you the final result. Until then, take a look and see you next time. Bye!